Hi, I have a manifestation story to share, and the concept I want to focus on today is living the wish fulfilled or dwelling in the end, Neville Goddard. So, when we fall asleep at night in a state akin to sleep, or we're drifting off to sleep, is the perfect time to live in the end of what we desire. So, if our two gifts are mind and speech, and we are using our mind to look towards what we want and focus there and why we want what we want and what we want and what we want, and we do that, we will be closer and closer to achieving a life we really desire. So falling falling asleep or in a state akin to sleep, so it's something you could do during the day as well, but you pick an imaginal act that would be evidence of your wish having come true. So if you want that new promotion, then you could imagine writing down something on your contract, discussing a clause, the handshake. I've definitely done that handshake thing before about working on a project. I work in the film industry right now, just behind the scenes, but I do have greater aspirations. And just that idea, that handshake of feeling that that's coming, that's on its way, that's done. Because anytime we desire something, ask and it is given. It's just up to us to get out of the way. So one of the ways to get out of the way is falling asleep in the wish fulfilled or dwelling in the end. And so as we do that, as we drift up into sleep and we see ourselves in that moment, not on a movie screen, we see ourselves from first person and we see the wish fulfilled. So if it's about a lover that comes, maybe you don't even know anyone right now, but you know that's something you want. You just imagine falling asleep in their arms. What it would feel like to have their skin next to you, to have their arm around you. Maybe you want to be married, so you feel the wedding ring on your finger. You feel like, just imagine what it feels like. You know, you can touch something without touching something. So in your imagination, use that imagination and pick up a ring if you have to really feel it, and slide a ring on a finger to really feel what that feels like. But then just start living there. Just start imagining that on your finger, imagining it as done. And it is as good as done. The thing about it is being consistent. It's important to be consistent with this work. That's the only way it works. If we wobble, as Abraham Hicks talks about the wobble, I want it, but I don't think I can have it. I want it, but I don't think I'm worthy, blah, blah, blah. If we keep going to the but and we keep focused there on the lack of our desire, the absence of our desire, that's why it can't come to us. And that's okay, because when we ask for more and more and more in that same area, that desire grows, that desire gets bigger and more beautiful. And there's more detail now, because every time you know what you don't want, you know what you do want. On the one hand, we know what we don't want. Well, that inspires what we do want, right? So the manifestation story I want to share is I broke a tooth, is this one. And it was right before the pandemic, actually. And I was despondent because I'm in a income bracket that's growing, but my options, I didn't like any of them. I didn't like what they would feel like. I didn't like having to pay for them because they were all expensive. Each one just didn't feel good. None of the options felt good. Then the pandemic happened, and of course we were forced to wear masks. And in my industry, it was absolutely essential. You couldn't come to work without a mask, so it was great. Obviously, pandemic's not great, but the fact that I could wear a mask and not have this insecurity showing up everywhere I went was really important to me while I decided how to handle this. So just to be clear about that. And when I noticed that I really wanted to think about it in a different way, I wanted to use it to apply this work. I've been studying Abraham Hicks since 2017. Very recently, I have discovered Neville Goddard, and I am enamored completely with his work of dwelling in the end and falling asleep in the wish fulfilled. But I just started thinking about it differently, and I just started thinking, you know, what I really want is a crown. I want a crown on that tooth. You know, I have enough tooth that there's a crown. There's new technology coming. That was my big thing, was I was like, there's new technology that's coming. It's going to be inexpensive. It's going to be easy to do. It's going to happen. I won't have to deal with these other options that none of them I cared for. None of them I liked at all. And I thought, and this is going to be easier than I was first thinking. You know, I was really thinking, okay, well, I haven't been to the dentist in a while. You know, we got some money in the coffers. Let's go to the dentist. And let's just start kind of imagining that it's going to go well. And they say, yeah, you can have a crown because a crown is less expensive. It's the least amount of work that has to be done. It's, you know, least invasive, obviously, least amount of appointments. And I thought, you know, it feels like it's possible. It feels like it could be possible. I went one step further and I thought, well, I'll just do some research. And I did some research and I had more tooth than they said in the research. So I thought, well, there we go. If my dentist says no, that's okay. There is an inexpensive dentistry school in my city. I can go chat with them. I'm sure that they'd want to okay this because it's possible. I read it in the literature. It's definitely possible. So I went to the dentist and I just imagined it going well. My dentist is awesome and they love me. They're really, really nice to me because I'm a happy person at a dentist's office. Like, I really do not mind going to dentists. So they're always very sweet to me. I'm very, very appreciative of that. I love going there. They're so nice and wonderful. And they're always very kind about me paying my bills, and they're very wonderful to me, and they're inexpensive, so it's not even hard to pay my bills, but love them. So when the dentist told me, she looked, yeah, we can put a crown on that. Well, there we go. Did I ever get excited? They're gonna put a crown on my tooth. They can put a crown on my tooth. Hooray, hooray, hooray. They can put a crown on my tooth. So I got very excited and I thought, this is so wonderful. They can put a crown on my tooth. This is a big deal for me. And I just skipped all the way home, right? My manifestation was fulfilled. And I had established the emotional journey first. I had gone to the end of the journey that, yeah, they can give me a crown. They can give me a crown. They can give me a crown. And then turn around to starting the process and deciding to, let's get them whitened. Why not? Let's have whiter teeth. Sure. You know, let's aid their business and let's have a service in return that I enjoy. So on the way to that, so that the tooth could be matched to the color, my parents phoned and said that they would cover the rest of the cost of the tooth. So it cost me nothing. This thing that could have broken all banks for me at the time was now costing me nothing. So that's my manifestation story. Every time now, once you have some of these stories, and if you look back on your life, you definitely have some of these stories somewhere. You just have to mine for them a little bit and look for the really good feeling stories. But that becomes part of your proof that this works and that you can do this with anything. It just depends on how much resistance you have in the way of the thing you want. And on some subjects, all of us are like this. We have more than we do on another subject. So it's all very laid out for us if we look at our lives and look at what's happening in our lives and how we're feeling. Because there is obviously a time delay between asking for something and receiving it. And that time delay is where we get to employ our faith. I was listening to Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, and the quote was, "With faith, there are no limitations." And isn't that glorious? So just think about building your faith. And we build our faith by these examples. And then you think, oh, well, if I can do it with that tooth, then I can do it with this improvement in this relationship. I can do it with this improvement to my finances. And it really is that way. And that has very much worked for me. So that is the story that I have, is one of my stories in my toolbox that I can always go to when I've asked for something new. So when I ask for something new, well, this is just like my tooth, it'll come. And that, again, is about faith and knowing and building that faith and building that knowing. And you have your example. So when you have your example, you can always go back to said example. And I do this also with getting into film school and moving to my dream city. You know, it wasn't a done deal in the world of appearances, as Neville Goddard calls it, but it was something I wanted. It was something I very much wanted. And so daydreaming about it, and this is before I knew about any of this work, but daydreaming about it, being excited about it coming, being hopeful. Hopeful is the road towards faith. And then it coming, so that even though it was before I was doing this work, is evidence of this work working, of wanting something and allowing it. The two sides to the coin, desire and allowing that desire. And in between is the letting go of the resistance. So that is something that I'll talk about more too. But by going to the end, you immediately lose all the resistance, right? If I have it, there's no resistance because I have it. And that is what dwelling in the end and living the wish fulfilled is all about. And it's an incredible thing. So I highly recommend to decide on an imaginal act that would feel really good if you had your desire, and fall asleep in that until it comes true. Because it will, because I know it. I've been there. I've done it. So it is a wonderful way to connect with who you want to become. Just be it. Just be it as you fall asleep. Just be it as you're in a relaxed state, and just take it as true, and it will become true. Thank you.